Welcome to the Dr. Joe Show. Today we start a very special series of videos all about aging cigars. And when we talk about aging cigars, we're going to be talking about time. Time is relative. Time is an illusion. Time is of the essence. If you go online, you'll find thousands upon thousands of quotes about time. It's something that controls us, something that we move through yet moves against us. In nature, the law of time is to take. It takes away. Food spoils. Wood rots. Stone is turned to sand, and eventually even we wither away. But in the world of cigars, time behaves differently. Instead of taking, it will actually give. If properly cared for, using the right equipment and the right methods, over time, instead of rotting or withering away or turning to dust, your cigars will become something incredible. And tonight, that is exactly what we are going to talk about. We're going to tell you all about aging, the process, what it is, how it works. We have a lot to talk about. So grab a big cigar, kick back, and relax as we journey into the wonderful world of aging cigars. This is the Dr. Joe Show. Oh, Jesus, man. You know, that's what I'm talking about. Welcome to the Dr. Joe Show. I'm Joe, and today we are going to take a journey through the wonderful, mysterious realm of aging cigars. This is a realm within a realm, the realm being cigars itself as a hobby, as an enthusiast's object of interest. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a little lengthy, but so are all my videos, so don't worry about that. Grab yourself a big smoke and light up. I got a Boulevard 109 going here. I'm not going to be doing a review on it, really, because we have a lot to concentrate on. A few notes before we get started. I just want to give credit to author Min Ron Nee for two things that we're going to be talking about. One, the actual periods of the aging process, which we'll be looking at. People call them different things. I think the best word came from Min Ron Ni, and that is maturation. First maturation, second maturation. It makes complete sense. It sounds good. I don't know if he actually coined that phrase, but I'm going to say probably. So we're going to be using that as our terminology. Second, also, credit to him for the actual numbers we're looking at as far as years it takes to go through each period. There are a lot of different numbers online. The numbers are approximate no matter who they come from. But I figured to go with the best average, who I feel has probably the best experience in the area. And again, that's Min Ron Ni. So thank you to him. I will be reading from my notes, but again, I will try to talk to the camera as much as possible. The rest of this is written by yours truly. And let me take you through a brief overview of what we will be talking about exactly. First, we will be talking about the actual aging process itself. What it is, how it works, the science behind it. You need to know this because knowing this allows you to better understand the aging process and therefore correctly implement all the things you have to implement. Temperature, humidity, setup, all that stuff. Because for many of us, there will be no second chance. You know, I have some quotes about time that I was going to look at, and that little introduction came to mind when I saw that a lot of these quotes on time were actually the inverse of what, or the opposite really, of what time has to do with when talking about aging cigars. You know, so for instance, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. Henry Ford. Well, yeah, but if you begin again after doing this 20 years, I personally will be almost 60 years old, and many people out there will probably just be dead. So while time makes cigars better, it makes us older. So we have to do this right the first time. That's the point. And hopefully with this information, you'll be armed to the teeth and know exactly what you need to know regarding that. So we'll be looking at the aging process itself. Then we will be looking into how exactly to age your cigars. Humidities, temperatures, size of the boxes, how to store them the best way for aging cigars. We'll talk about all that stuff. Third, we're going to look at the best type of cigars to age based on experience and based on what we know. We'll talk a little bit about that, a little bit about, you know, which cigars are better for aging than others, which cigars are not good for aging, on and on and on. And finally, we'll probably talk a little bit about my own thoughts on aging, which most of the time will be going throughout this whole thing, but we'll wrap it up with that. Possibly a few viewer emails on the topic, and that's about it. So let's get started by diving right in and talking about the aging process. Okay. The aging process is broken up into 4 periods. The first period has its own special name, the sick period, and the 3 periods following are referred to as maturations. Briefly, the sick period is called such because it is a period during which you do not want to smoke your cigars because of the dramatic changes they're going through. The following 3 periods, referred to as first, second, and third maturation, have to do basically with flavor and aroma, balance, and complexity, respectively. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Those are my own thoughts on exactly what goes on scientifically during these processes and what changes actually take place. So it's important to know that because some people may not want to wait the full 20 plus years you need to get to the 4th and final period, or the 3rd maturation. You can stop at any time. You can smoke the cigars at any time after the sick period, even during the sick period if you wanted to. There's no, limit to, once you start doing this, you can't touch them. It's not like putting money in an IRA fund or something like that. So don't worry about that. And in some aspects, you may be happy to know that so much of the changes regarding flavor happen in the first maturation that a lot of people choose to smoke their cigars right at the end of this period, or the peak of this period, and we'll talk about that. So, getting into it, first, the sick period. Okay, the sick period. Many of you may have already heard of this period. Basically, time-wise, it starts 30 to 90 days after the factory date, usually around 90. People usually say 90, up to 1 year. Therefore, you don't want to smoke your cigars 90 days after the factory date up to 1 year, between that period. After 1 year, you're pretty much in the clear. Why? Let's look at the science behind this, because it basically starts the whole ball rolling for the rest of the process. And we're also going to talk about how to speed this period up, but why you shouldn't if you're going to age your cigars. Now, like I said, the period starts 30 to 90 days after the factory date and lasts throughout up to 1 year. Why does this happen? Well, first of all, cigars are always in a state of fermentation. Always. From the minute they're rolled. Actually, from the minute the tobacco is picked, it is cured, and after that point, it's always fermenting. At the rate it's fermenting, that's what changes. And due to the way cigars are rolled, that's why the sick period occurs. When cigars are rolled, the cured tobacco is moistened. They use spray bottles, they wet their fingertips, whatever, to make the tobacco more pliable during the rolling process. This adds a lot of extra water to the cigar. And they're bunched up and placed in a box and closed and ready for shipment. Now, of course, why does it start 30 to 90 days after? Because it takes a little time for the process to start due to all that extra water. But once it starts, what you're looking at is a highly elevated rate of fermentation. And the byproduct of that is ammonia. That is why when you get a lot of young cigars, you may get a hint in the aroma, or even a powerful hint, or even a taste of ammonia. Especially detectable through the nose. It's an unwanted attribute. It smells nasty, it burns, it makes the cigars very harsh, and beside that, flavor can also be quite bland at this point. So what you're looking at are cigars that we refer to as green, being very young, not worth smoking, not worth your money. You really want to wait a little while before digging into these things. Well, I want to smoke my cigars right away. What can I do? There is something you can do, and it's called breathing your cigars. Now, breathing your cigars is exactly what it sounds like. You have a box of cigars, say it's 4 or 5 months old. It's very green, young, has that aroma of ammonia coming out of it. Take the box, put it out, open it up, hour and a half, close it, put it back in the humidor. Do the same thing over and over until you can no longer detect that scent of ammonia. Fine, you can do that, but this is really bad for the aging process in the long term. Why? Because every time you breathe your cigars, you're letting out, you're basically, washing away all of the chemical components that are building up that will be needed later throughout the other maturation periods to create all these new flavors and wonderful things that are going to happen throughout the aging process. So you're really defeating the point. In fact, the less you breathe your cigars, the better for the aging process. If you're looking to age long-term, period, never breathe your cigars. Take the box, close it, put it in the humidor, and fucking leave it there. That's it. That's it. And from then on, it's all about just waiting. Of course, you need to occasionally check on them, but you want to expose them to, pure air as little as possible. That's why, in a lot of cases, some people claim that cigars in airtight jars age much more beautifully than in wooden boxes. But we'll talk about that more when we talk about the best situations in which to age your cigars. So, all that being said, you know now, you want to smoke them right away, breathe them. You want to age them, don't breathe them. There really is no in between. You know, you don't want to speed up the aging process by breathing them a little, you know, and then say, okay, at that year will only take 6 months, so they'll get into the first period faster. No, it doesn't work that way. And methods have been used to try and actually accelerate the aging process with tobacco, and they've all failed. It's something that has to happen naturally. It's very, very complex because a lot is going on. Not just the formation of chemicals and the breakdown of tannins and chemical chains and all that, but also the oils soaking through all the layers of your cigar, etc., etc. We'll talk about all of that. So that's basically all you need to know about the sick period, okay? I'll read a little from my notes right here just to make sure we covered everything. The period starts 30 to 90 days after the factory date and lasts until 1 year. Depending, of course, on many factors, the cigars can be bland to slightly bitter to just downright awful, reason being that the ammonia levels in the tobacco are at their highest. This is due to the extra moisture held in by the tobacco because of both the end of the main curing process and the water added by torquedours when rolling, propagating a heightened period of fermentation, the byproduct of which is ammonia. And then we talked about breathing and all of that. That's all you need to know. So, now we're going to get into first maturation. Here's where things start to get exciting. Sick period is over. You're clear of 1 year of the factory date, at which point ammonia levels are between 95 to 99% gone. After the second year, they'll be just about completely gone. So they're smokable now. Here we enter first maturation.